I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC CEO Dana White reveals the winner of Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman at UFC 294 will get the next middleweight title shot. What? On Wednesday, it was revealed that Paulo Costa would not be medically cleared to face Khamzat Chimaev next weekend at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi after having surgery. I believe he had surgery 3 weeks ago on his elbow. However, the UFC quickly found a replacement as former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman has agreed to step up on short notice to face Khamzat Chimaev at middleweight. On paper, it's already a highly anticipated matchup, and now Dana White told Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports that the winner of Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman will get the next middleweight title shot. Oh, come on. Dana White just told me that Khamzat Chimaev versus versus Kamaru Usman winner will get the next title shot barring injury. Okay. It is interesting that Dana White says the winner of Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman will get the next title shot. Currently, Sean Strickland, UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland, is without an opponent. How is he without an opponent? That's what? But Dricus du Plessis appeared to be next in line. However, Dricus du Plessis will now be passed over. What? It also means the UFC won't be giving Israel Adesanya an immediate rematch, which he has wanted. Along with the fight now being a middleweight title eliminator, Dana White is excited to see how Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev fight each other. This is what Dana White says. Who knows how they'll approach it, but you have to think that with the Costa fight, Khamzat Chimaev probably had to be thinking about going out and taking Costa down. Dana White told Yahoo Sports, but with Kamaru Usman and Kamaru Usman wrestling, it could actually turn into more of a stand-up war, unquote. That's what Dana White said. Kamaru Usman is coming off of back-to-back losses in the UFC welterweight division to UFC welterweight champion Leon Edwards. Kamaru Usman last fought back in March of this year when he lost a majority decision to Leon Edwards after getting knocked out cold in August of 2022 to lose the UFC welterweight belt to Leon Edwards. He also has a win over Strickland while he was competing at 170 pounds. How about that? Khamzat Chimaev hasn't fought since September of 2022, where he submitted Kevin Holland in the first round. That was a catchweight fight. Okay, let's just get into, we don't have to get into all of that. Okay, man, what is going on here, right? Now, listen, I'm a MMA casual, so I don't follow every fight and every tweet and every word, and I don't tweet all my fighters every single day. My whole timeline isn't full of all MMA things. But I mean, how can my hardcore MMA UFC fans, right? You hardcore fans, how can you justify two welterweights fighting for the number one contendership in the middleweight division? Right? How is that even possible? Now, if this was, let's say Israel Adesanya was the champion, I could see that being justifiable. Israel Adesanya has defeated almost all of the middleweights once, some middleweights twice. So I can understand the UFC saying, hey, we want some new blood. You know, we're going to bring up undefeated Khamzat Chimaev. If he gets a victory, it makes sense to give him a title shot. But neither Khamzat Chimaev or Kamaru Usman are ranked in the middleweight division. You have a new champion, Sean Strickland, right? Sean Strickland has a loss to Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier weighed in as the backup fighter for Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya, right? Like, Kobe Covington weighed in as the backup fighter for Kamaru Usman on Leon Edwards, and he's getting a title shot. Why would Jared Cannonier, who has a victory over Sean Strickland, not get the first title shot, especially being the backup fighter? That doesn't make any sense. And Dricus du Plessis. Dricus du Plessis went out there. He knocked, was it a knockout? A TKO? He finished Robert Whittaker in the second round. This wasn't a boring 3-round decision. He finished the #1 ranked former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker in the second round. Why is he not getting a title shot? It doesn't make sense. He fought Robert Whittaker in, when was it, July? And the UFC was like, hey, you know what? That was a nice victory, but now you need to turn around in 2 months and fight Israel Adesanya in a 5-round fight. And, Dricus du Plessis was saying, hey, I'm dealing with an injury. I'm not going to be ready to fight, Israel Adesanya in basically 2 months for a 5-round fight. Okay, they had the fight, and now he's getting passed over again? Like, what? How is Sean Strickland not have an opponent? Book Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. Book Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier. Like, how is Dricus du Plessis doesn't have an opponent? Israel Adesanya doesn't have an opponent. Jared Cannonier, he got matched up with Roman Dolidze for some unknown reason, right? Like, why did they book that fight? I'm not understanding this at all. But like I said, I'm an MMA casual, so no one really cares about my opinion when it comes to, MMA. But I'm asking my hardcore fans, my hardcore friends and fans with your entire timeline that all you'll do is tweet to MMA fighters and Dana White, how can you justify 2 welterweight fighters being the #1 contender in a middleweight division when you have a new middleweight champion? Come on, we got to do better than this. Israel Adesanya could get a rematch. That makes more sense than these 2 fighters. Dricus du Plessis makes more sense than Sean Strickland is not booked for any fights. He's not booked. He just fought in last month in September. Book him versus Dricus du Plessis. Book Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier has a victory over Sean Strickland. Doesn't Sean Strickland want to get that back? Right? Doesn't he want to get that victory back? Some people thought it was a close decision. Why not book Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier? I don't understand it. And then also with all the craziness in the UFC, Khamzat Chimaev hasn't fought in a year, right? He hasn't fought in over a year, right? Who knows what happens in this 3-round fight? This could be a bloody 3-round war where, either a competitor won't walk out of this fight and be ready to fight Sean Strickland when Sean Strickland is ready to fight. I don't understand why we're booking, so far in advance before some of these fights even happen, right? You got Bilal Muhammad as like the second #1 contender behind Colby Covington. And now Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards happens in December, and Bilal Muhammad, when is he going to fight for the welterweight? It's just like Bilal Muhammad should be fighting Shakar Rakhmonov, right? Like, to me, we're just booking way too far in advance. I don't know that, the winner of this fight is going to walk out unscathed so they could fight Sean Strickland, in January or February of, Kamaru Usman last fight was in March. That was like 7 months ago, right? Like, it was 7 months ago. Khamzat Chimaev last fight was in September of last year. It was 12 months ago, right? So who's to know that the winner of this fight is just going to be like, okay, you know what? I could fight Sean Strickland in, February or March or April of next year. Sean Strickland may be ready to fight. Either way, I'm not too crazy about this at all. But let me know your opinion of this story. Who deserves the #1 contendership in the middleweight? This doesn't seem like a hard question, right? But who deserves the #1 contendership? Dricus du Plessis, Jared Cannonier, Israel Adesanya, Khamzat Chimaev, or Kamaru Usman? Wow. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about UFC CEO Dana White reveals the winner of Khamzat Chimaev, welterweight, versus Kamaru Usman, welterweight, at UFC 294 will get the next middleweight title shot. Come on. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.